The Russians are gradually restricting the use of the Crimean Bridge. New restrictions for transport are being imposed on the crossing, and its actual military role is diminishing. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian side continues to press to cut off the occupiers' logistical connections to the peninsula. Navy spokesman Dmitry Pletenchuk spoke about this. Navy spokesman Dmitry Pletenchuk noted that the Russians have long restricted access to the bridge for most military purposes. Only trucks remain, but this is expensive and difficult, so the occupiers are considering banning them as well. He emphasized that the bridge has now become a symbol and a route for Russian tourists, rather than a true logistical artery. They've been refusing to ship fuel for quite some time now. They've also refused to ship heavily armored vehicles, he notes. Pletenchuk emphasizes that restrictions are only growing, particularly for electric and hybrid vehicles. The representative adds that the Russians are trying to protect the city, specifically with enhanced air defense systems. We will continue to do everything possible to cut this umbilical cord with our Crimea, which connects it to Russians. Because for Russians now, of course, it's even more of a symbol, he explains. Recall, recently, Southern District Military Court of Russia has sentenced the defendants in the Crimean Bridge attack case to life in prison. According to the prosecution, several businessmen, a farmer, and a truck driver, 8 people in total, helped Ukrainian special services detonate a truck bomb on the bridge. None of them pleaded guilty. The defendants insist they were simply doing their usual jobs and were unaware of the explosives concealed within the cargo that subsequently detonated while the truck carrying it crossed the bridge. The head of the SBU, Ukrainian Intelligence Service, Vasyl Malyuk, has previously stated that Ukrainian security forces used the defendants without their knowledge. The explosion on the Crimean Bridge occurred on October 8, 2022. 5 people were killed, the driver of the truck carrying the hidden explosives, and 4 people in a car that was next to the truck. Following a massive fire, a section of the bridge collapsed into the water. A few days later, the FSB reported the detention of 8 people suspected of the terror attack. They included Oleg Antipov, the head of a St. Petersburg logistics company who had called the FSB himself after learning of the explosion, Artur Turchanian, an Armenian truck driver living in Georgia, Roman Solomko, a farmer from Kherson, Ukraine, and 5 other businessmen, brothers Artem and Georgy Azatyan from Armavir, Kherson native Vladimir Zlob, Dmitry Tyazlik from Lipetsk, and Crimean resident Alexander Bylin. According to the investigation, employees of Ukraine's special services were behind the truck explosion on the bridge, a fact the SBU, Security Service of Ukraine, later confirmed. The explosive device was hidden in rolls of polyethylene film, which were transported from Odessa via Bulgaria, Armenia, and Georgia using falsified documents.
Russian occupiers, Scout and Davlet, who surrendered to the Ukrainian armed forces in the Kostiantynivka area, recounted how they crawled through a sewer pipe for over 2 days to unfurl a tricolor flag for a picture. A video of the interrogation of the prisoners was released by the 12th Special Forces Brigade, Azov. Why do Russians love the sewers so much? It's a story about underground sleds, flagships at any cost, and endless meaty assaults. It's also about the humane treatment of prisoners by the Azov soldiers who strive to return their captive brothers, the brigade explained. Pavel Nikolaev, call sign Davlet, says he fell for the contract like a stupid puppy. The soldier, born in 1989, served in the 150th Division, According to him, when it became clear that everyone was being assigned to assault troopers, panic broke out among the Russian soldiers. The older men were especially frightened, realizing they had been designated suicide bombers. As Davlet recounted, they were ordered to infiltrate the Ukrainian armed forces' rear through a sewer pipe. They waded through waist-deep water through a 90-centimeter diameter pipe. It was simply impossible to navigate through it. They traveled for 2.5 days using carts. They slept for only an hour and half the entire time. It was hell. While we were crawling through the pipe, we lost everything. Backpacks were cut on stalactites. Our vests were damaged. All the grenades were lost there. Even the fuses, the soldier says. As the Russian said, he had a hallucination. It seemed as if there was a starry sky above him. Evgeny Latukin, scout born in 2002, was sent to the front at the instigation of his mother, who allegedly believed he would serve in Russia. He said he suffered a nervous breakdown while in the pipeline. I started getting hysterical because you don't know how far back, how far forward. There's no water. You're running out of food. There are about 10 more people crawling behind you, urging you on. It's damp, cold, and the wind is blowing. Scout explained that the only thing he hoped for was not to die in the pipe. When the occupiers reached their destination, they continued to move across open terrain for some time. A little later, they received a message from their command that a gift would be dropped by drone. However, instead of the food and water they had expected, the Russians received the tricolor flag. They were ordered to unfurl it in a populated area to simulate the seizure of territory. The prisoners say they themselves are shocked by this attitude from their commanders. Recall in March, reports emerged that Russian troops had taken an unusual approach to trying to get behind Ukrainian lines in Russia's Kherson region, crawling through a defunct section of a pipeline that once carried Russian gas to Europe via Ukraine. Soon after, the Ukrainian side confirmed the attack, but said its forces had detected the movement in time and launched strikes as Russian troops tried to emerge. While many pro-Russian outlets have portrayed the ongoing offensive near Sudza as a success, some pro-war bloggers and propagandists have criticized the pipeline strategy as poorly planned. The Ukrainian military said they weren't caught off guard by the underground raid. According to Ukraine's general staff, reconnaissance units from the air assault forces detected the Russian troops in time, allowing Ukrainian forces to target them with missile and artillery strikes.